check here. It's being live streamed.
Yes, I think we're on.
I just want to take a look directly into YouTube.
We're on.
Hello. Okay, I know. I'm just looking at my phone. Sorry, I'm like, I can't get this thing.
But
Where
we're
are we?
live, Kasia, so.
We are live. Hello, people. It's not on my phone. We're not live. So wait, I just have to...
If you didn't post it, it doesn't exist. This is
Yeah.
the...
All right, I'm going to skip this, but I would love to see can you see the chat? Because I can see it on my phone. I don't know why it's not on my channel. I'm on live and I'm
the
like...
chat.
Yes, can you see the chat?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I can see us. Cool. Okay, so if anybody is here, please let us know if you guys can hear us. And I'm just going to write in the chat, hello, everyone. And we give people a couple of minutes to maybe join in if they wish to. And Karni, nice to see you. How are you?
Hi, Kasia. I'm good. It's so good to see you again.
I know. Hello, nails.
Yeah, we have these matching nails, which is amazing. To distant places in the world, and we have even like the matching colors for each finger. So how perfect can that
So
be?
funny. Ladies. And you know that I've never done my nails before. And you started quite late as well, I think, because you started like maybe a year ago or something. But
I
have you
started
done
a
it
year ago.
before?
I went from nothing to extreme. Now I have like, the constellations on my fingers and
Same. I had these planets. Do you remember I had like those planets, like all the planets on the nails? And yeah, thinking about moon phases, something, I don't know. But like, I love it now. But I'm 47. So this was this year. This is my fourth times that I've done nails in my life. Like in general, I've never had it done before. So it's quite, exciting like this.
We can do a whole live about that. Another time.
So, okay, I think we're going to start and people can join in. We have a couple of people here. Can you write if you can hear us? I know that there's a delay between the Zoom and YouTube, but I hope that we are heard and we are being visible. So, Karni, welcome to my channel again.
Thank you, Kasia.
We have talked about it. We met probably 2019 or maybe even 18, can't remember exactly, but we have done some work together. We became friends through internet, through your cards, actually, right? Because I think that's, how did I even find you? Through
I think through the cards, through Instagram for sure. It was a different period on Instagram where people were friends.
The nicer period of Instagram.
People. And I think that through the cards we connected and we did some workshops together and just had some great conversations. And
yeah, exactly. And now I kind of can introduce you also as like my teacher, because I actually, thanks to the course of the new astrology, where you teach about the realms, astrological realms, I actually keep using it in the new readings that I'm offering. So from the friend and, co-worker, you also became my teacher, Karni. So I'm grateful to you that you invented this, the astrological realms. I actually think this is a brilliant idea. But we are going to get to this. So maybe if you can just shortly introduce yourself, because you're so versatile. Can you just tell us about who you are, Karni?
Oh my God, shortly to introduce myself, where shall I start? So, first of all, I live in Israel. I am married. I am a mother of two teenagers. I've been doing astrology for over 20 years now. I'm It can't be short, Kasha. It's a problem. So I'll
That's
just
it.
tell
Go.
that the first time that when I was 20 something and opened an astrology book, not knowing anything from before, I remember that I realized that I'm not learning something new. I'm remembering something from the past, which was a very extraordinary idea because I wasn't that spiritual then, and as I am today. And I remember reading the astrology book and telling myself, oh, this is right and this is wrong. And how would I know that? Just opening my first pages in astrology.
Do you
And since
remember what book that was? Sorry to
it's in Hebrew, something like
okay.
basic,
Okay.
like something like astrologies for dummies or something like that in Hebrew. Very basic book. Since then, I advanced, and since then, I'm doing astrology for over 20 years now. I'll say it in short, and then we'll go into the new astrology. That in my journey as an astrologer, of course, I did like, I don't know, probably already thousands of charts. I don't know. Yes, most likely.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I've been doing it for 17 years and I would
Yes.
go into thousands. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And I really, people come back and I see the amazing changes they do in their lives. It's so unique, so special. I am also doing the weekly astrology forecast, astrological forecast. And in that, I wrote books about astrology, different books.
I have them. I want to
You
show
have
them
them
while we own
prepared.
it, because then we might not be talking about it and then we won't show it.
Okay.
So out of my own maybe experience with this book, it's not very thick like this, but it's a lot of information. And the point being that it's like interesting information. It's not something you find like you Google it and you like kind of,
Yeah.
rephrasing somebody else's ideas. I found it like really interesting, really sweetly written in a sense that it's not dry information, even when you go into history of astrology, like it's interesting facts, like you connect a lot of different dots and take a new perspective on the old things, which is really
Yeah.
cool. So
Thank
I
you.
highly recommend this to anybody who's interested a little bit more into us in astrology. And it's like,
Thank you. And I'll say, it reminds me, you asked about myself to introduce myself. So I am an archaeologist. Let's start with that. I have a master's degree in comparative religions. I'm a storyteller. So I think this book that you just showed really combines like all of my love. The ancient myths, different cultures around the globe, how they see the skies, the stars, how they perceive astrology. So this is where like all of my versatile
come together.
education really comes together, and also I created the cards oh yes, so this is the book that goes with these cards that yes, that was our meeting point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, I will open up, but it's quite amazing because they were actually introduced to the world first time at 2011. It's like already 12 years ago. Since then, they're translated to 8 languages. They were just published in Brazil in Portuguese. It's real magic, really, like how these things happen. And the
Yeah.
idea with the cards is also to make astrology simple, accessible for people. You don't need to learn much, although I do have an astrology school. But the idea is that you can also just, but by seeing the symbols, the colors, yes, the common sense of reading, your intuition, you can tap into astrology. And also, using the astrological frequencies daily, which is very important. Because for me, astrology is something very, very alive. Like the planets, the constellations are like a color palette that we can work with every time. And there is also, I don't know if do you have the elaborated book about?
No. Is
Okay.
this elaborated book like about the frequent? Oh no
300
shit!
pages.
I'm getting it. Is it on Amazon?
Yeah, yeah.
So this speaks about the realms more,
So
and
it also speaks about the realms, but it actually it talks mainly about healing and meditating with the astrological frequency. So it goes with the cards as well,
Yeah.
but it really goes into having different meditations and how to
Oh,
heal yourself and others. It's like a whole journey. And you don't need to do it like everything from start to
sure.
end. You can pick, a topic. Yeah. So this is another like big thing.
Can I say something also about the cards, Karni?
Oh,
Because
and let's do a
I've had
reading. So it's not just philosophical. Let's each one of us take a card and see what wants to happen today.
yeah, and also I want to just say from the perspective of a user, and I've got like hundreds of decks. There is something really beautifully energetical about your cards. And, I use cards and I put them aside and I come back and, it's a weave. And now that when they came back with these realms and stuff, like just the paper you printed them on, first of all, it's like so soft and has like really nice feel when you hold them. But also the artwork and the colors, like those, I know it's very bright here, but like the muted colors, they're very energetically like coherent and like beautiful frequency of the deck itself. I think like I can feel it anyway and I really like it. So I just wanted to share with you because, I've had them for years, but I don't know if I ever shared with you or not.
Thank you so much. It's so
I notice the
beautiful
more
to hear.
I use it, the more it's like, oh, it's energetically like coherent. I don't know, integral, if I could put it into words, So I really like it. So shall we pull a
Yeah,
card?
my deck just popped one card out, so I'm with a card already.
Oh, is it Gemini? It's Mercury, yeah?
It's the third house, which is yes, it has to do with Gemini and Mercury.
So we are going to be trying to juggle a couple of, I mean, we're talking about astrology, but
I already see us going into like a million directions. But I think that maybe there is a message also for everybody who is listening now, yes, that it's okay to be many things. It's okay to be versatile. And this is like kind of the opposite. The midheaven talks about the opposite side of maturing and choosing one thing from the many, many options. Wow.
But I would challenge you on this one
Yes.
because I'm thinking like midheaven right now. To me, midheaven is something that's really visible. And I would say, like in the chart, that this is maybe not necessarily choosing one, but you have like nothingness full of possibilities. And maybe, yes, you can transform certain of your old ideas into new, open up to new ones. And also that visible conversation that we're having now, that would kind of go nicely with the midheaven, how I would read it.
Yes, actually, it's interesting because it really reminds me of my journey to do with astrology, this midheaven card. So I'll tell it. And also to say that everything that I'm telling, I'm trying for people to find some inspiration in it. Yes. So first, I really want to say it's not that like in one night I had cards translated to 8 languages. And my astrology school is now 5th in the world, the best place to learn astrology online in, which is amazing. It's crazy, but it didn't start like that. I'm doing what I'm doing for 20 years with devotion, sending every week. I remember, when I started, thank God my husband supported me doing my crazy thing, not earning any money, but I knew what I want to do. Yes, I knew that this is the thing. So
and I know you, I can like detail this because since I know you wanted to do this, you've done it. You wanted to have a business that takes people on like spiritual journeys into different places. You've done it over bloody pandemic. I'm like, oh my God, this woman is like unstoppable. Like you're very like inspirational to me because of this, because I have a lot of ideas, but they often like bloom, 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 die.
So maybe the message, for those who want to do something in the world, to succeed, to bring their visions into manifestation, yes, to really, really do it. And we can do a live about that because I have a whole way of how to do it, by the way,
Cool, that
like
would be
the whole
awesome.
process. And I think it's also in the book, but to say that one thing is devotion, like if you want something, you really need to do it repeatedly. And this creates a magnet that really starts to summon things. Another thing is really to start collecting the small successes and be very joyous about them. And then this also, it collects more successes. And I want to say that when I started my journey like 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, I did actually lots of things together. Yes, because I'm a Gemini with this card of the third house, which is like juggling so many things. I still juggle, but I remember, I did a tarot reading, healing sessions, different workshops, crystals, astrology, like the works, and everything was very, I was 20 something. So everything was very small. And then I did a break when I was giving birth, to my two children. So for like 3-4 years, I didn't even work. And when I came back to that, suddenly I got very crystallized, focused. Like I want to focus in astrology. Yes. And this is the card that you showed. Can you show again the midheaven? So the way I see it, the midheaven is the top point of the chart. The chart is round. The midheaven is where the sun is at midday. Yeah. And this is the star there, yes, that signifies it. Talks about the point in the chart, the point of maturity, like growing up. It's the opposite than the house of childhood. So it's the opposite of being a baby dependent on someone else, and starting to take responsibility for our own lives. And it does have to do sometimes with limiting our options, because when I choose something, I actually limit my options. Yes, I said, no, I'm not doing healing anymore. I'm not doing, personal development workshops. I'm only doing astrology. But in an interesting way, when you choose something, it opens again the whole variety of options. Okay. So when I chose astrology, I actually found myself doing workshops again, creating the cards, teaching, traveling the world, doing so many things. So sometimes, choice and choosing something, it limits, like drops off what is not relevant, but then it really opens a wide variety of things that you can do in that specific domain.
I'm just looking for one card I want to add to your maturity. And this is from Julie Kuchia Watts, the other lady who just inspired me so much with astrology when I combined both of you. But you said that's maturity, and look how she depicted it. How cool.
Ah, nice. So much joy.
Yeah. And this maturity in some way, which also shows like, the word, this is elder of midheaven. I just thought it was so cute. Both of these cards. Really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
but you're right, actually, when you have a lot, like you think that you're limiting your options, and when you do limit, that has this effect of sucking in and then opening you up to a totally new set of possibilities, which is going deeper and going probably more in.
I think it's, the same thing is like in relationships, when you choose your husband, you actually like eliminate like all other options, which can seem like, oh my God, I'm choosing one person. But then it opens up so many possibilities of deepening the relationships, of family, of connection, of life with someone. So it's interesting. These things.
Totally agree. So, okay, so you started your astrology journey with the Western astrology. So the astrology that we all.
Yes. Let's go to why we are here now, which is the astrological realms and the new astrology. Okay. So please ask the question, and then I'll.
Because I'm interested, because that's when I contacted you. I'm like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. I'm like, I need to do something. I want to be connected to constellations in some way. I want to be reflected by the skies. Is Western astrology wrong? What am I doing? And since then, I've done so much research, and no, Western astrology is not wrong. Science and constellations are not the same things. Maybe they used to be the same things, but they're not. And for the simplicity, reasons, Western astrology split the sky into sections, which Indian astrology did as well, but they just stayed closer to the skies because
Yes,
of the
okay.
precession. But what I wanted to know from you, like, what was the evolution? Because the way you're using astrology now, you're not using Western astrology, first of all. You're using, I mean, see, here I'm having a bit of an issue too, because I think we're all using a little bit of Western astrology, because we use a lot of knowledge that we got from Western astrology.
Yeah.
And kind of mix it with, with different takes. Like now I'm expanding my Western astrology via your astrology takes on realms, but also via Egyptian takes by Julie, and I'm mixing it all together. You have this amazing take with the astrological realms, which I think is unique and beautiful and just makes astrology go like from 3D to like 16D, something like it. So that's amazing. But you started as a Western astrologer, and how did you evolve? Tell us the story.
Let me first really go. Yes, I'll tell the story of how I discovered actually the new astrology and started to bring it to the world. Preceded my time, yes, because you know me and my work for several years, and it took you some time to ask, hey, so what is it actually and what you're doing?
Yeah.
And just to explain, because maybe some listeners don't even know, about the new astrology, sidereal astrology, the Western astrology, is not the only astrology. So I'll go a few steps back to the explanation and say that actually there is a gap between the charts that all astrology, Western astrology astrologers use today, and what you actually see in the skies, in the stars. Okay. And so there is a gap between astronomy and astrology. And in my journey, I started to work with astronomical facts, okay, with astronomical charts and astronomical astrology. And this is a huge difference than what I worked with till now. And when I teach astrology in my school, I teach both systems. So I teach the basics, which is the Western astrology, which you need to know because it has, all the fundamentals of the elements and reading the persona charts. But I also give the new astrology portion, which is very important. So how did it start? Okay. So I was an astrologer for 10 years before I decided I want to actually learn about the stars and teach myself how to find the constellations and the planets and go outside. And it was a whole part also of me moving from a big city, like a bit like what you're doing now. I did it already quite a few years ago, moving from, being a city girl to the countryside and seeing nature and going out and seeing the stars and the constellations. And I really started to teach myself. This was like 2011 again. So it was pre the apps, before the apps. Now it's very easy to find it with the apps. And I looked at the stars and I suddenly realized that what I'm seeing is different than the astrological charts that I'm producing. And at first, because I was a very beginner astronomer, I thought, okay, so I'm probably saying it wrong because I don't know anything. Yes, because Jupiter is now in Taurus. I can see the planet Jupiter. I can see the constellation Taurus, but the charts tell me it's in Gemini. So what's going on here? And then I really started to figure it out by myself, which was quite a journey. Realizing that astrology was fixed 2000 years ago by Ptolemy, by the way. Okay. And since then, astrologers have been working with his system, which we call the Western astrology. And he did all the calculations, and he could like put everything according to the calculations, where would be each planet in advance for the next 10 years, 1,000 years. And now, these days, the most advanced astrology software uses these calculations, okay? But Ptolemy, 2,000 years ago, didn't know all sorts of things that we know now. Yes, for example, the precision of the equinox, which is the wobble of planet Earth, which actually makes all the calculations wrong by a bit. Okay, so in fact, you can't give a linear program of, yes, if Saturn takes 2.5 years to move from constellation to constellation, you can't calculate it like this because you need to bring into account the precision of the equinox, which means that I won't give the whole explanation, but it's just not like that. It's not linear, okay? And
Can I interrupt because I think I have to personally put in something, because when we say it like this, it sounds like Western astrology is wrong, and I think
not wrong, but not connected to
it's
the
not connected to constellations,
and
which Western
I teach
astrology.
astrology, so everybody relax and everybody calm down. Everybody take a big breath. Okay. The astrology you use is valid, but there is another possibility to add to the charts that you do. Okay.
Perfect, because I think what's interesting about a Western astrology, which I found out because I didn't give a flying fuck, to be honest. I don't know. I just didn't matter to me, and everybody is doing it one way. So when I started actually researching Western astrology so that I can prove it wrong, like I can't really prove it wrong, except for the fact that it's annoyingly not connected to the stars, but it's very connected to what we see on Earth. So it's not even seasonal. Recently, I discovered, because I called it seasonal, but it works for northern and southern hemisphere at the same time. So it's a really beautiful system, but it's solar and it's directional. So always, the sun is always rising in the east, and the spring always comes on this between 20th and whatever 22nd of March, and so on. And these changes are the only changes that we see as humans without any, need to look up.
Yes and no, because the ancient people also looked at the stars. So we have like two different cycles. We have the planetary cycle, which doesn't change. Spring will always be spring, morning will always be morning. Yes, the equinox, the solstices, this always remains like this is repetitional. Okay, this is also what planet Earth does. It's repetitional. Yes, it goes in circle again and again, giving us opportunities for new season. Also, the sign for planet Earth in astrology is the circle with the cross in it, which is like the wheel always continues. Okay, but there is another clock which the Egyptians used and people of Stonehenge used. Read in my book. And yes, and this was the what there is like the clock of the day and the clock of the night. And during the day we only see the planet. It looks like we have like this wider vision because it's sunlight, but actually during the day we only see the planet, and in the sky, in the night, we can see the universe. Okay, so the Egyptians, they looked at another clock because they weren't interested in the daily living as much. Okay, and in the repetition of things, they were interested in the evolution. So this is the kind of astrology that I am talking about. Okay, which is long-term astrology. It changes very slowly through thousands of years. So it's not the personal astrology. Again, if you're doing persona charts, use the Western astrology. Okay, it works. It's fine. Everything to do with planet Earth. But if you want to open scope to the universe and your own evolution possibilities, then look at the stars, the actual stars. Okay, and then you need to use astronomical charts.
Yeah, I totally agree. Plus, also, I think at some point, I'm pretty sure they were connected both. When Ptolemy maybe
It
did
was
it, he
exactly
probably saw the constellation of Aries or Taurus rising.
No, for years, they were connected. Okay, Ptolemy actually started the disconnection. Okay, but
Yeah, but when he started, he still saw the constellation of Aries
when he
probably
started, it
rising.
was right for his era. And
Exactly.
his like mind said, okay, now let's put all of this into science, into facts, into calculations. But it doesn't work like this. And this is also what the Western world did, yes, versus, the East, for example. We started to put things into formulas, go by the brains, teach things, and disconnect from the moment to moment feeling of things. Okay. And when you do a Vedic chart, which is the Eastern Indian chart, you actually use the astronomical charts because they are so primitive that they actually go out and look at the skies and see what's happening now, and don't use the Western modern calculations.
But it's still interesting, I think, that even Vedic astrology, they split the skies in 30, like each constellation, they gave it 30 degrees, which is not true when you actually look at the skies, because some constellations are really small. They don't even make 20 degrees,
Yeah.
and Virgo or Pisces are really huge. So then when I looked at this true sidereal, when I told you about this, like, there are also programs which you can use when they actually use the actual
Yes.
sizes of constellations as well. But I think for calculation reasons, that just makes it a bit crazy. And I see it myself if I want to calculate, because you lose the oppositions,
It's
so
not just
sometimes Aries can be in opposition to Virgo and not in opposition to Libra and so on. So that gets a little bit tricky to actually navigate. But for evolutionary readings, I actually love that 13 constellations, including Ophiuchus, that extra one, not sign, because this is not an extra sign, it's an extra constellation on ecliptic.
part of Scorpio. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of Scorpio, exactly, because even when you look at them, they're actually in the same kind of bandwidth, but Scorpio has brighter stars. So I'm pretty sure maybe ancients, I mean, in Egyptian, in Dendera, the Ophiuchus is there, but as like men sitting on a snake, but I don't know if they used it. There's no proof anywhere.
I've been to Dendera when I was in Egypt.
Yeah, but have you seen this?
The chart there.
Yeah,
Of course,
apparently
this is
the
why I
original.
went. This is why I went and took the whole group there. Because, yes, but the truth is that the chart itself is in a museum somewhere in Europe.
In Paris, in Versailles. I'm like, oh,
Horrible, horrible, horrible. I think everybody should bring back Egypt, everything that they took from it. Like, oh my God. So,
but anyway, so like I think the Vedic astrology that we use with the Western kind of chart, that's also some form of simplification, but it's definitely the closest it gets to. It's not so disconnected from the sky, the constellation. So sometimes you might have like a couple of days of differences when maybe the constellation is longer than 30 degrees, like Virgo or Pisces.
yeah.
You look and it's still in Virgo,
Yes.
but
Yes, it appears in many things. Also, you think of the day, right? We use the clock every time. It's 6 in the evening, but sometimes 6 in the evening it's light, and sometimes it's dark, and it's not the same 6 in the evening. And the hours, and this is something that you see when you do a chart, that you have some houses which are larger, meaning that there are actually more hours sometimes of light or of dark. And yes, it's part of let's go out of the box of the modern society that tries to put things into formulas. Yes, let's go back to nature.
yeah, and I think you actually, I love it that you said today with the houses, because the system that I use with 13 constellations that are different uses actually equal houses. But when we use Placidus, we can use maybe 30 degrees constellation each, but the houses get different depending on if you were born in the morning or evening or whatever, right? So that's also interesting point. Because I was watching some of the astrologers who are Western astrologers, and I really admire these guys, and I'm sure they've done like heaps of research, and they very stick for Western astrology, and they watch the stars. That's my point, that they do both. And they constantly, and I'm thinking, how can you reconcile, like looking at the constellations and knowing that the planets are not in these constellations. And in Western astrology, we call them like Uranus is in Taurus, but it's in constellation of Aries right now. If you look up, or okay, Uranus, maybe it's not such a good idea because you wouldn't be able to see it, but any other planet.
And you can clearly see Mars, you can clearly see Venus, Jupiter.
Venus, Jupiter, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy just says that he watches the directions, like it rises in the east, or so, you know, he found a way to like kind of connect it to the skies, but not, he splits the constellations from the signs. So signs, it's the separation in the skies into sectors, and constellations are different, but it's confusing though when you use the same names.
Yes, I tried like to calm people down and say it's okay, your Western astrology is valid. I have a reason also for that, but which is that everything has its own astrology. The human has their own astrology. Like from the birthday, we have 12 different months. If you'll try to see your life, yes. Every time you start with full of energy, then you go into the Taurus phase, Gemini phase, and so on. This is why we're very sad a month before our birthday, like a little death, because we're going into Pisces. Yeah, and then we get like lots of energy again. So everybody has their own astrology planet, because the number 12 and the cycle of 12 is very, very esoteric. It's a natural law. This is something you will see everywhere. It's not just connected to astrology. It's connected to everything, like the elements, the three modes. You will see it everywhere. Yes, even if you have a job, yes, or a relationship. Everything starts like with wow, with fluctuation of Aries, but then goes into the format of Taurus, then spreads out and so on. And also planet Earth has its own astrology. So by living on planet Earth, I do think that the Western astrology talks about the seasonal astrology. So we have like the number one, the springtime. It's not connected to the constellation Aries anymore. No. Yes, no. Because we're deep into the constellation of Pisces in the equinox. Yes, it goes backwards.
Nearly
and
finished.
We're heading towards the age of Aquarius. Yes. Bursting into song, exactly. And which it can be another live of just singing together songs connected to astrology. Never mind. So
nobody will definitely join this one.
Don't allow us to do it. So yes, maybe I need to also explain again about the sidereal astrology and the changes. But just to say that the Western astrology, I see it as looking at the repetitional 12 cycle, and everything is affected by it. So traditionally we call like the first month Aries, but we should give it another name, okay? Yeah. Like bursting springtime, okay? And this is why the Western astrology works, okay? But when you look at the stars, and let's start again with why do we want to look at the stars, which is very, very important, because why do we want to look at the stars?
So Karni, just one sec, your chair, I think it's making really
okay.
I don't know. For me it's fine, but I'm curious how it will sound on the recording. So don't move.
It's difficult. I'm so,
you're so Gemini like me.
But I'll try to keep my butt on the chair. Okay.
So why do we look at the stars?
Why do we look at the stars? So, you go into different cultures and you see that people looked at the stars, and always there was a sense of this is where we are coming from. This is where we want to reach. This is something that has to do with a higher purpose, with a bigger journey of the human, yes, and the humankind. So the Native Americans looked at the stars and said, these are our ancestors, the people that were enlightened, and now they show us the way. The Egyptians, they created the pyramids in the form of Orion belt, wanting to remember that this is where they come from and this is where they want to go to. You can see it all over the graves. They have constellations on
Yeah.
on the graves, not just the stars on the top. There are some specific constellations. So yes, every roof of the tomb has stars in it, but which also has to do
Not. Yeah.
with Nut, the night covering. But also there are places where you have like the queen, it's not Hatshepsut, I don't remember her name right now, and specific constellations saying, this is where I come from, and this is where I want to return. And they have also different constellations on their sarcophagi. Okay, saying this is like the post. Yes, this is where I want to reach. Yes,
The
this is my
postcode.
dialing number. Okay. So there is something with the stars. Now there is a whole thing called the Rev creation, which is a huge spiritual understanding, but it talks about the spiritual development of a human being in correlation to the development of the universe. Okay, so I'll say it in short that we start as moons. Moons are children only being able to revolve around their mothers. Okay, then we become planets, meaning we have our own atmosphere, we have our own paths, we become our own people. Then we can develop to be a sun, yes, which is let's radiate and generate and be creative and have other people in our aura, yes. And then we can go into constellations, which means, yes, I'm not bursting into the ego of the sun, but I want to learn how to work with other people and to connect in groups. And there is the spiritual ladder of personal development according to the universe, the way the universe works, the Rev creation. And when we talk about the star levels, and it goes up till God, the creator. But when we talk about star level, it's a very high spiritual state. Okay, and it tells us that we can develop beyond our planetary repetitional self. Okay, yes, you were born and you have this birth persona and you have these pluses and you have these minuses, but at the end of your days, yes, they won't ask you, were you a good Gemini or Sagittarius? They will ask you, did you develop and rise above that as well?
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
it's like, okay, if you repeat whatever you were born with, you were under the rule of the day, of the planet. Okay, but you didn't go into the night area and you didn't go to the universe and you didn't expand more. So the whole spiritual journey, as I see it, is reaching the stars. Now, for the ancient people, the stars weren't just philosophical. They really knew their stars. Let's start with that. They were outside. They saw they saw the stars, they saw the constellations, they saw the movements, they saw the change. Not only that, they felt it. Okay, which is something that now us living in the modern world, we lost the ability to feel. I think we need we have Homo erectus, Homo sapiens. We need to find the word of Homo doesn't feel anything. We became not sapienses, maybe
Yeah.
two sapienses, two thinking. Okay,
Yeah.
and I think that the next evolution is to be Homo sensitive. This to reconnect to planet Earth. We became like cancer cells on planet Earth.
Little viruses.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
also I think to use all these amazing senses that we actually have. It's not something we have to go to university, celestial university and get, right?
Exactly. Now the first astrologers or just sensors of the universe, they didn't have anyone to teach them. This is the Virgo sign, and this means this and that. Yes, or they watched the skies and they felt it with resonation. They resonated with it, and they felt the constellations and their frequencies and energies, and they felt how different it is when Mars travels. Yes, from Capricorn to Aquarius. They felt it. They were with it. Okay, and it's not only just remembering how to feel. as I see it, the celestial bodies hold such amazing forces of healing. And this is what the people need now, the world need now. Yes, and this is why for me astrology is also connected to healing, to connect to the healing forces of the universe. It's like we have a whole cabinet of medicine
Yeah.
around us, and we can really choose.
Tap in. Mhm.
Yes, these amazing. Do you need clarity? You have it. Do you need energy? You have it. Do you need like a softness? You have it. You know, yes, everything. You have it. You have it. Just, it's like once the women of the tribe knew how to go out and to collect the herbs for medication. Yes, but also it's like the same as above, so below. So each herb is connected to a planet or to a constellation. We have these amazing energies. We just need to go outside, look and connect, and we don't, but we can.
Yeah.
This is what I'm trying to do, like all the time, in all sorts of ways. um yeah, so using the new astrology is not about reading the persona reading. If you want to tell someone about their character, use the sidereal chart. It's about understanding what I call the astrological realms, okay, which are pathways for spiritual development or pathways for connection, pathways for healing. There are 12 of them. Yeah.
For
And
example, I'm just going to give like an
yes,
example of what you're talking about. So like Taurus wouldn't be called Taurus, but you would give it I mean, it's Taurus, but it's
it's the
in.
constellation Taurus, but I gave them like
Can you
words.
explain like how you like when you told me at some point, and also you do have this course which is called the New Astrology in your
Exactly.
school, which speaks
Yes,
specifically about those realms. So for anybody
yes,
who wants to study just this, you can get this course.
exactly.
But you also
So I
have the
gave,
whole astrology course that you can study from the beginning, and I'm going to link it below. But um, the realm, when you think, I don't know, like when you explained it to me with this, like it just opened up the whole section of the sky, it's not just this. I see.
exactly. So I'll tell it the way I told you,
Yes,
hopefully,
please.
or in any way. But when you look at the skies, yes, when we're talking about a constellation is a bunch of stars in a certain area in the skies. But like a real sign, it's like a post sign. It's not the end of things. It's just a sign. This is the direction. And when you're talking about the constellation, now we know that there is so much, there are like some bright stars and lots of darkness. But now we know that this darkness is full, yes, of whole areas. These are the signs, not
Yeah, I'm
the.
just thinking like the constellations, like if we think
Right.
of just the.
Yes, yes, yes. So on top you can see the constellations.
Yeah.
But beyond that, there is actually so much more to read. So what I'm saying is also that don't stop at the first thing that you see, which are the signs. The signs mark you a way of a whole direction into the universe that we know that has, other galaxies and stars and many, who knows, like universes and so many things in it. So we're talking about 12 pathways in the universe. Each one, we can say, pathways. So if we're in a circle, yes, then you have 12 different directions, but actually they're also all heading up, like upwards toward the skies. And each one holds a whole toolkit of healing, personal development, lessons for life. And this is what I'm opening in the new astrology course and in the book and with the cards and with the, yes, of how to maybe really be in touch with these energies. And it really requires practice. Yes, it's not that simple
Yeah.
because we're not trained to do that. We were not born, in native societies, and we really need to open up to the possibility that there is a universe out there that we can connect to.
It's there.
It's there.
Just
It's
look
there.
up. Yeah. Even though they make movies, don't look up. But you
Look,
look up.
which actually told us, look up. Are you crazy not to look up?
Yeah,
Great
exactly.
movie. Crazy.
Yeah. That's very fascinating. And actually, you when you do your astrology readings, you also don't really use signs so much anymore. You mostly focus on the realms, right?
Yes, when I teach everything, but when I do my charts now, I only use the astrological realms, only use the sidereal, which is the astronomical chart.
Yeah.
I need to hold this
Yeah.
this function and allow other people to do both. But
Yeah.
yes, on my
Yeah.
side, this is what you will see, the new astrology with the new
Yeah.
dates and everything.
Yeah, and exactly because the dates change, of course, as well. So probably if anybody's getting one of those evolutionary readings, you might find that your sun is in a different sign. Not necessary, but a lot of things that you know from the Western perspective will be
Yeah.
different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But with your take on the constellations, and do you go out and actually, because you live in the country, it's going to be so my practice, Karni. As soon as I move, I'm going to be like just
Yeah.
there. And I have like not many neighbors as well. So the light pollution will be so much different to the city, it will be like black probably.
Yeah.
You just see fireplace, like little bonfire, and like the
Yeah. Yeah.
skies will be amazing. So do you watch it? Did you get it? Do you get a sense, like did you practice to get a physical sense of constellation? Yeah.
Yes. So first of all, I'm really living more on the countryside. Still here, there is light pollution, even if I'm living on the countryside. But I'm lucky, as my other passion is giving the journeys, the spiritual journeys worldwide. So I was so lucky, to see the constellations of the southern hemisphere in Peru in July, and to see the stars above the pyramids when I was there in October. And I just been to Costa Rica seeing, the Venus and Jupiter starting to get close, and here back in Israel seeing them kiss, and then going to Morocco seeing just Jupiter. And it's really amazing because you also see it differently wherever you are in the world. It looks a bit different because of the perspective.
Yeah.
And so it's really, or yeah, in places that you see in another place, like the northern you go, the constellation of the zodiac will be more southern. And on the equator, it will be the constellations of the zodiac are just above your head. So, first of all, I am practicing all the time to go out and, first of all, look.
Reconnect. Yeah.
And then I have some amazing experiences and encounters with planets and constellations. And after having this affair with a certain constellation, when I look at it, we have something. So part of what I did when I gave astrology workshops worldwide, which were this kind of holistic workshops. For example, what we did is that it was a workshop with lots of musicians as well. Told everybody to bring their instruments. It was in the Netherlands a few years ago, just as an example. And we posed as of some constellations. I think it was not the zodiac, it was Pegasus and Andromeda. So we stood in the shape of the constellations, and everybody connected and started to play the music of the constellations. So
That's
it's
amazing.
several hours of preparing and posing and connecting and giving the music. And after, and it's like entering these constellations, like really tapping into their energy by the music. Yes, or it can be many things. It can be through arts. Usually it's not just the philosophical
No,
learning.
but even,
Yes.
like in Western astrology, I remember I had this experiential astrology sessions when you go and you stand in your chart and you hold even just sigils of
Yes.
your planets. And it's similar. You close your eyes and you
Yeah.
just wait what's coming, and it's so interesting.
So this is
Totally amazing. And if you like, you like what you did was even like intersectional, you know, like you bring in music, you bring in art. So beautiful. I love that.
yeah.
Karni, we have the chart of today in both. Maybe you could speak about this a little bit before we wrap up, because I would love you to also show the difference between the Western and the
Yeah.
sidereal for
Yes.
people who might not know, and it will be easier to see it. And
Yeah. So we
we
can
have
end
this
with that.
beautiful
And just to say
Jupiter
that,
Sun conjunction.
perfect. And just to say before that we can end with looking at the chart of today, is that another way to really experience your chart is to create with the astrological cards, if you know your chart, to create it around you, to put the circle of the houses and put in them the planets and signs, and to stand in the middle of it. Huh? And then you can also visit different areas, like visit your fourth house, the house of childhood, and see how it feels. And, take time. You can spread it out and sit down with a journal and write down things that come up from that. Yes.
So if you don't have that like, how do you do it? If you, because I assume you have some like a circle on a mat, or how do you just
create, so you can just create from the cards the circle
because they have houses.
of the
Okay.
houses. So this is your location.
Okay.
And then
Yes.
you
Yeah.
put in each house and you do it wide enough so you can really stand and walk in it.
Oh,
Try it.
I'm going to do it, because I've done it before with the sigils, but we had like the chart kind of mat when you have the houses, and it was big, so you could put
Yeah.
like the planets in and hold the sigils and stuff. So yeah, you have the houses here. So perfect. Anything else like practical we can
Ah! Wow, the cards, you can do so many things. Like meditation of the day, you can choose a card and see, what kind of frequency you want to bring to your life. And in the new book, I have like a short meditation, and just, and even in the just the usual like ebook that goes with it, there's the affirmation of the day that you can use. Also, when I do my weekly forecast, every week I give a card to meditate upon according to the frequencies that are around.
And for this, people just need to sign up for your newsletter to get the
Exactly. So there is my site, newastrology.com, where you can find first of all, your weekly astrological forecast according to your birth date, and discover your new astrology realm, which you need to also sit down, take big breaths, because it might be different to what you thought. And then you can also
go into the shock panic mode.
Yeah. We love new things. We're okay with new things. And then you can register to the weekly forecast that I send.
Yeah.
So let's end actually with looking at today's chart, right? So first of all, it's not just the Jupiter Sun conjunction, but exact one, which is like, wow, Kasha, could we have picked a better day? No way. It's amazing. But also, so this of course is a time of good fortune, expansion, beginnings of new things. It happens once a year. So it's really, really unique. And
right, like expansion and growth, like new opportunities. It's lovely that we got up here. Like, it's so perfect.
Amazing.
We also have Chiron there. So what would you add, Chiron?
So Chiron is the planet or the asteroid of healing. So there is lots of healing opportunities during this week. And I think that in the world and in our lives, we really need that. Chiron also might bring up the hurts and pains. Yes. But in order for us to heal it. So there is sometimes, things, or this week, things might pop up of wounds from the past, because Chiron is the wounded healer. But mainly we need to take it as an opportunity for growth and development. And here I want to really show you the difference between, and first there are other million things to say about the chart, but the main thing is to see the difference between the Western chart, which is this one, and the sidereal chart, which is this one. Because according to the Western astrology, the Sun, Jupiter, Chiron are all in Aries, yes, because we just entered the first month of the astrological year, 21st of March was the equinox. But when you will look at the skies, actually, you'll see that the Sun has not entered Aries yet. Okay, it's in a Pisces. So is Jupiter, so is Chiron. And this is because the explanation is that because of the precision of the equinox, there is a gap of 1 degree every 72 years between yes. So this is
Just
to
trying to
show
show,
you
but it's
if
moving, doesn't matter.
so if you don't believe, just open any app and see
For
the
yourself.
truth. The astronomical facts. I know it's so much more simple to ignore it and say Karni is crazy and this is, it's fine. But any simple app will tell you that the Sun is now in Pisces and not in Aries. Yes.
And again, Western astrology doesn't, whatever we say that these are signs and not constellations. But astrology is not signology, it's not seasonology, it's not directionology, it's not erphology.
And if you want
it's astrology.
And if you want to connect to the energy that comes from the universe this time, yes, this energy comes from the constellation of Pisces these days. Okay. And this, of course, has to do with the fact that astrology is not fixed. It always changes, and it actually goes 1 degree backwards every 72 years, which seems very little, but when we talk about 2000 years, yes, then we're already 25 degrees behind. And when you look at the pyramids, Stonehenge, all these places were actually astronomical clocks trying to see what is the constellation that rises in the east at the time of the equinox, which is very close to us now. And this is why, and the reason it was so important is because this constellation reflects on the broader scope of what happens in the 2000 of years before it changes to the next constellation. And when we're talking about the astrological eras, this is what we're seeing. This is what we're talking about. Okay, so Ptolemy fixed astrology at the age of Aries. When he was alive, the Sun was on April 11th in the constellation of Aries, yes? But now the Sun is in Pisces. And in 300 years, on March 21st, the Sun will be in Aquarius. This is why we burst into song, that we're still, we're on the verge of the age of Aquarius.
And it actually, when you look into the sky on equinox, and like if you even look at the app, sometimes these apps are not like so precise, because it's enough to like turn a little bit right or a little bit left, and like if it's on the cusp of two constellations, it kind of shows sometimes both ways. But now Sun looks so close to Aquarian constellation. You could, even if you didn't have the apps and stuff, maybe the ancients would be thinking, oh, we are, really at the age of Aquarius, like slow, like we're nearly there. Like it doesn't look like 300 more years. If you actually look at the app, it looks so close. It looks like just one more star of Pisces and, gone, and we're there. It's interesting.
And if you want to check it out, the easiest thing to see now is Mars in Gemini and Venus in Taurus. You need to know very simple astronomy in order to actually see it. And it's so easy because it's during the evening. So if you have bright skies, or even not that bright skies, you will see it after sunset. So you will see the constellation of Taurus looks like the V, which are the horns. So there is a V, and in the distance 2 other planets. So it goes like this during the night, traveling the skies, and you would see Venus in it. Okay.
And if you are very like scared that you won't be noticing it, I remember that it helped me a lot to use this Skyview application, Skyview for free in the basic mode. And you can actually point towards any star and it will tell you it's Venus. So then you would have to look, for example, for the constellation. Might be easier to find if you at least recognize the planet of Venus.
Yeah, and Venus is very easy to find because these days it's just the brightest star, which is not a star, it's a planet in the west, very like close to where the sunset is. So it's yeah, so it's so easy to see. And then if you look further away, yes, so if the sun just set, there is Venus, and Mars is a bit higher these days, which is more dimmer red color, not star but planet, and it's in constellation Gemini, which is also very easy to see because it's just 2 stars. Okay, so try it, you know, go out, try it, try to find it, see the beauty of it, see the wonder of it. Use the app, don't use the app, and just look up.
Look up, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really, I hope we inspired people to do that, because I think this is a way to go. And, you know your stars. And I think how you called it in the beginning, it's such a beautiful description that like solar astrology, Western astrology, very like day astrology, works well. You know, you have the cycle, it's fixed. So whatever is fixed, you can measure it, because I still have like amazing discoveries when clients go like, oh my God, like, you know, when you do transits and like it fits. But I think with the stars, truly evolutionary, and via the name, we deserve to give it back to astrology, like give the stars back to astrology. Like it's astrology. Yeah, it's not anything else. And I love it. And what you suggested with your cards, really great to reconnect back to our like intuition and trust ourselves that we have those senses, use those senses to
it's all in us. Every organ in our body resonates with a certain planet or constellation, so it's all in us. We just need to find the way to work it.
Yeah, and I took your new astrology course, so I highly recommend this one. I think it's better for people who know astrology a little bit, because it's not your first course. So if you're the beginner at astrology, I would suggest to take other courses before you take this one. But for people like myself, if you know astrology, even if you do different type of astrology, this was fascinating and really great intro and info about just in general how astrology works. But I thought like if I was totally new, I would want to have more introduction. So I think you have introductory courses before that one.
Exactly, yes. It's if you just take the new astrology, it really takes into account that you learned all the basics. And if you need to start from the beginning, you have the beginner's course.
Yeah, exactly. But it's really interesting, and it's not just like listing of this realm is this and this realm, like you explain like the whole, the what you just mentioned a little bit in the interview as well, how we have this hierarchy kind of, and how the energy interacts and how we are part of this interaction as well. So I think it's really cool. So I highly recommend this one. And I'm going to link, Karni, you were lovely enough, because you're my good friend, you gave me an affiliate link. So I'm going to link my affiliate link under the description here. You have, guys, if you want to use it, use it. If not, God bless you, just go to Karni's website. But
no,
you want to use it,
Kash's link.
I would be very grateful.
I won't accept you without Kash's link.
But yeah, it's going to be linked below in the description box. And I'm just going to link Karni your website. People can get the cards. Are they available on Amazon as well, or is it just through you?
No, the cards are here in my cupboard. And I personally deliver it with a note to everybody. Beautiful. So it's on my site. It's on my site, but not.
And also, I do have a review of the cards on my channel. We have an interview with you about the cards in the previous, like I link it below as well if people want to learn more about the cards and so on. The books though are available on Amazon, right? Like if anybody can get it anywhere in the world. And they also translated some of them, at least. Yeah.
Yes, to different languages, many languages.
So if for people who might prefer their own language to English, there might be a chance as well. And yeah, if you want to travel with Karni, I also think it's an interesting experience because it's different. You're not like a touristic selfie type of journey. It's more like evolutionary. You always do different processes and you take people to really powerful spots. So yeah, I highly recommend this one as well. And well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, Karni. Always, you're very generous like this. And thank you for being my friend and teacher and listening to me puffing my astrological drama recently.
Thank you so much, Kasha, for hosting me and being the wonderful friend that you are. And thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you everyone who was listening and stuck with us. I hope also thank you to all the people who will be rewatching it. I hope you guys got some inspiration from this. Rachel says, thank you both so much. Thank you. And
Rachel.
yeah, I hope you
I
guys
wonder if
enjoyed.
it's the Rachel I know. So
maybe Rachel. I don't know. Can you see? Rachel, do you know Karni? Anyway, thank you, Rachel. And thank you, everyone. Speak to you soon. I'm going to get off live